Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece, episode 1031. We are finally back after a few weeks off, basically a month off of this series. And a few things before we begin. First off, yes, I know I need to shave. I just haven't yet. I'm not, this is the only thing I'm recording today. I'm recording this on Sunday. So it's like I just didn't feel the need to get to that before I recorded this and everything. I wanted to get to this, get it out of the way, get it done during the short time I have to do so. So, next off, I had said before the break and everything, that the special Film Red tie-in episodes were going to be 29 through 31. There were going to be 3 of them, and that we would come back on 1032. I was wrong, but not with the amount, because there was 3 episodes. One was just a special. So the last one wasn't 1031. After 1030, there was a special episode that was released that just wasn't counted as a numbered episode. But I will still react to all 3 of those, 1029, 1030, and the special, the same time I react to Film Red. And on that topic, it has been announced that Film Red will come to American theaters in October. No word on when it's going to come to Crunchyroll or wherever else, basically when it's coming to streaming and online. But probably by the end of the year, I would wager. Maybe. Hard to say. But I was briefly considering seeing it in theaters, because it's it's coming to American theaters in October. And it's like, oh, that would be cool, seeing One Piece in theaters. And I was briefly toying with the idea, and it's like, I'm thinking, no, I should probably stick to what I said and react to it. Although I would love to see it in theaters, I should probably stick to what I said I would do. So yeah, we'll get to that when we can get to that. Once again, we'll get to those episodes. We're going to do a One Piece week that week. We're going to get to the Film Red tie-in episodes and the special. We're going to get to the movie. Maybe do something else as well. Who knows? We'll see. But in regards to Wano, now that we are back with the episodes for Wano, yeah, I'm excited to see where we go next. We're continuing the fight in Onigashima. Luffy and them are continuing Roof Peace against Kaido and everything. Big Mom's coming back up there. And creating a new homie, girlfriend for Prometheus. We have just most of the commands being taken down by Kaido and everything on the roof, but Luffy continues to persist, as he tends to do. Meanwhile, everyone down below is continuing their own separate fights and interactions and everything. It's just, there's just so much going on. I don't know what's going to progress this time, which specific storylines. I don't know what we're going to focus on, but I'm excited nonetheless to see what they do. And what Oda has in store for us going forward. I know the arc just recently ended, and that means the final saga is starting in the manga. But I'm still mostly spoiler free. There are a few things I know, just practically impossible to avoid because the One Piece fandom doesn't know how to not spoil shit. There are a few things I do know. So when we get to that, I'll mention it. But again, I don't know the full context behind mostly anything. I just know like these things happen or these things exist just because I've seen it shared on social media. I don't know like every detail behind it, and hopefully it stays that way. Either way, like I said, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what we have going forward. There's certain fights I'm still really hyped to see continue, such as Jinbei versus Who's Who and Black Maria versus Robin. So there's going to be some pretty good stuff happening. But I'm just happy to be back after, again, basically a month off of One Piece. And while I can admittedly say having that time off where it's just like I just had one less slot to worry about has admittedly done some good, having just one less thing to worry about, even though I just recently added another one because of JoJo returning. Because this is a weekly thing and I only need to worry about recording it like on the week of, either the day of or the day before, it's not going to affect much of anything. It's not going to be a bother, not going to be a worry. So it's going to be fine because of what this series is and the timing of it. So yeah, I think that'll be fine. It won't interfere with anything else. All other reactions will be going ahead as normal as they have been. So that being said, we're just going to get into this episode and see what we have in store. So, when the screen fades to black, excuse me, that was, my voice was starting to get a little scratchy there, and it's like, my throat was like messing with me. I don't know what the hell is happening. Either way, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I have the biggest, like, goofiest smile on my face right now because it's like, it was so unexpected, but also so perfectly set up. Like there is setup for this. It is a long, like, how do I put it? It's a long coming payoff to some wonderful setup. And on top of that, by the way, I was wrong. I thought I saw Jinbei versus Who's Who in the preview part. That wasn't them. So I was wrong about that. But, oh my gosh. This was, you know that meme? The Step Brothers meme from, the Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly movie Step Brothers, where it's like, did we just become best friends? Yup. And it's like, that's kind of what I'm thinking of right now. Is Big Mom our ally? Sort of, now? Because that kind of seems like what's going on, doesn't it? Like, at least to a small temporary degree, she's kind of allying with our heroes. At the very least with Tama. The fact, I was, like, when she saw Tama there, it's like, I'm thinking, like, oh my god. Is she gonna remember from that? I mean, I guess she would. When people have, like a short-term, it's not short-term memory loss in that way, but you know what I mean. um, amnesia. They're not. Now I'm questioning the words I'm saying. Um, when they have like a short period of memory loss like that, and they get their memory back and everything, um, from a lot of the cases I've seen and heard about, they usually do remember what happened during that time as well. They get their memory back from before it, but also they know what happened while their memory was gone. So it's not unbelievable. It's just something I never thought about. Because obviously, Big Mom was very different when she was, quote unquote, Olin. So, yeah, it's just something I didn't think about. Like, once she got her memory back, I was more focused on the fact that she would be Big Mom again. And now, like, we see, like, Tama call out to her from recognizing her, and when she looks at Tama, and then it's like, oh my god, she recognizes her, and it's like, holy shit. And then not only does she recognize her, but she still thinks very fondly of her. And apparently this is a thing, according to Prometheus. A new development we had with Big Mom's character. Apparently she has this motherly mode, where sometimes when she sees kids like 10 or under or so, she goes into this protective mother state. And there's a lot of people like that in real life. This is actually very much a real thing, where people get very protective and loving towards young kids, when otherwise they wouldn't necessarily be like that around others. Their personality almost seems to take a shift because they have this mother bear side to them, where they want to protect and, just dote on young children. And I mean, I'm very much that way. I've talked about before, but kind of a dream job for me would be a child care worker. Just because I adore children. I want to protect them. I want to be there for them and show them love, whether they do or don't get it in their normal lives, especially if they don't. And some of that may stem from my own life, from my own experiences, but it's very much a real thing that a lot of people go through, and not just women either. Guys and NBs go through it as well. It's very much a thing. So seeing that Big Mom goes through it here too, it's so fitting because of her character. And again though, it's something I've just never thought about, that she would have that side to her. Because we've even seen how she interacts with her kids. She's more than willing to kill her kids if they step out of line or do something that would, betray her, basically. She sees a lot of them more as subordinates than her children, And we've seen the way she treats some of her kids, like Pudding, I mean, Jesus, or, of course, Chiffon and Lola. But they're also all older, to be fair. Like, none of the kids we saw, none of her Big Mom's children are kids still. So that also might factor into that. But it just kind of never occurred to me that she would have this side. That she would be this doting, loving person towards young children. And again, there's also the factor that, like, she has some of her best memories in life come from when she was a kid, living with Mother Carmel and the other orphans. And even though she doesn't know, she has no fucking idea that she cannibalized them all, which still is still one of the biggest holy fuck moments of this series, which is saying a lot considering it's Oda. She still thinks upon all of them extremely fondly. She doesn't even know Mother Carmel was planning on selling her to the government. She looks upon them all extremely fondly and cares greatly for all of them and for those memories. They're her strongest memories. So that probably has something to do with it too. And we know that has to do with, her desire to create this wonderland, this accepting, just inclusive land for anyone except giants, because she has a thing against giants because of what they did to her. But still, yeah, that's really genuinely fascinating. Like, no joke. That is so genuinely fascinating to see that in here. And that was the meat of this episode. This time, like, the episode title was actually somewhat reflective of that. Although Nami's screams and everything, like, weren't really the focus, weren't really the highlight, it was still focused on that segment and kept it from spoiling too much with what actually happened. So I can actually dig this title. They did well in titling this episode. But yeah, it's just, I didn't even consider that. And then when she finds out Okabore Town was burned down, and that Tsuru might be dead, although again, I very much doubt it. But even just the idea of that enrages Big Mom so much that she basically just turns on Kaido right then and there. And when page 1 comes up to attack them, she just, like, turns around, like, brings out her color of arms, and absolutely destroys him. Page 1 is done. I really don't think he's getting back up after that. After being hit full force by a Yonko, I don't think he's getting back up. Let's be honest, page 1 was not the strongest of the Tobiroppo in the first place, so... But Ulti saw it, and that's kind of how the episode ended. Will Ulti go after Big Mom now? Honestly, with Ulti's temper, probably. I could definitely see that happening. But I'm happy to see Ulti again. Like, it's been a while, We did have a little tiny bit of roof piece, but it was so insignificantly small that nothing really happened. The only thing of note is that Law took everyone else on the roof, including Zeus, aside from Luffy and Kaido, and peaced out. So Luffy and Kaido are the only ones remaining up there. There was also this tiny bit with Shinobu getting a call from Kinemon, them finding out that Kanjuro's after them and everything, and Kinemon vowing to get to them and protect them, and especially Momo, of course. But Yamato then comes up with a plan, and it's like, okay, I need to get to Kaido myself, so this is a plan to protect Momo. I got this plan. Hear me out. Momo, I need you for this. And Momo was just like super determined face because, yeah, Momo wants to help take out Kaido too. And it's like, what the hell is this plan going to be? There's no way Momo's entering the fight. Fuck that shit. Like, as much as I love you, Yamato, you even think about bringing this boy into this fight? I'll smack you. I will smack the shit out of you. You are not bringing this boy into that fight. No. You can go to the fight as long as Momo's protected, but yeah. Only if Momo is sufficiently protected, too. But yeah, it's like, I just wonder what the plan's gonna be. I trust Yamato. I truly believe he is looking out for Momo in the strongest way, and I truly believe he will not leave Momo and Shinobu unless he believes that they're fully protected. But yeah, it's like, I'm just wondering what it is going to be. But yeah, otherwise, pretty much the entire episode focused on the Nami, Usopp, Otama segment. They fought off page 1. Usopp's a badass, brave warrior of the sea. Nami is just bonking him. I mean, Usopp was bonking him too, but and Tama deals with Big Mom, and it's just like, wow. I really did not see that going. That is such a fun way to bring this series back to after a few weeks of being off because of the film Red tie-ins. Like even if you watch the film Red tie-ins, it's like coming back to Wano with something like this is fucking great. I still want to see more of the other fights and all that we haven't seen. Jinbei versus Who's Who, and Black Maria versus Robin, but we'll get to see those. I don't mind getting to see Tama taming Big Mom, which is so fucking hilarious of a concept that it's just, again, gotta have the biggest, goofiest smile on my face after that. It's so fucking good. It was so good. I'm so happy to be back with this. I really did not expect that. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? What did you think of Otama taming the savage beast that is Charlotte Linlin? What did you think of the fact that Yamato has a plan to protect Momo while also being able to go and join the fight against Kaido himself? What do you think about just the setup with everyone else leaving the roof at the moment except Luffy and Kaido? And how that's going to affect the roof piece fight. And let me know your thoughts on all of that and more down below. But one thing I almost forgot to mention real quick, and then we'll cut this out. I almost forgot to mention this. This last point here is a spoiler for the manga. It is something I found out. Again, I don't know the details surrounding it or any of the specifics. I want to mention this real quick. So if you have not read the manga or just don't know about this specific point involving the ending of the Wano arc and Yamato, then I hope you enjoy the reaction, and I'll see you next time. The rest of this is going to be just again, a very small spoiler for that. Because again, I don't know details or anything surrounding it. I just know the tiniest bit of the information. So, okay, all good. Minor spoiler for the end of the Wano arc in the manga in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I just wanted to touch on this real quick because I just wanted to touch on this. Apparently at the end of Wano, there are people upset about Yamato and saying that he's a bad character now because apparently at the end of Wano, he doesn't renounce his entire obsession with Odin. And there were some people who were saying like, oh, at the end of Wano, he's going to renounce his obsession with Odin and he's going to start using she, her pronouns and everything. And it's just a phase he's going through and everything. And it's not going to remain part of his character going forward and everything. And that's how Oda envisioned it and everything. It was just a temporary thing, just like a gag for his character. And so many people were saying this, and mainly they were saying this as a way of being transphobic. Because all these people were basically using this as one of the reasons why Yamato is not trans, and why Yamato is not male, and does not need to be referred to with he, him pronouns. It was just them being transphobic. Bigoted pieces of fucking shit, basically. And it's not the only excuse they use. They also use, like, the Viver card, which, Oda doesn't actually have direct say in. And, there's a lot of other issues with that, with you trying to use that as proof as well. And so on and so forth. But the point kind of goes into how they viewed it was going to end for Yamato. And apparently it didn't end that way. Apparently at the end of Wano and everything, Yamato still retains this quote-unquote character quirk as they viewed it. And that he is still using he, him pronouns, still referring to himself and being referred to by others as male, and is still obsessing over Odin. these people were so insistent that that was going to change that the fact that it didn't is pissing them off, and they're starting to say like, oh, Yamato's a terrible character, never was going to be like this great character and everything. And these are people who liked Yamato otherwise, even though they were misgendering him and everything, and insisting that he was going to change and everything by the end of the arc. They liked him as a character. And now they're saying like, oh no, he's a terrible character and everything. He took away from the arc, and it would be better if his parts were like filled by someone like Marco or whatnot instead, or one of the Yakuzaya 9. And I'm just like, I've seen people talking about this, and again, I don't know the context behind how his story in the Wano arc ends. I just know that apparently he does retain his obsession with Odin and does continue to be the guy he is. And people were pissed about that. And now, even though they liked him before, they're suddenly starting to switch their tone and saying like, oh no, he's a terrible character. He should have... He didn't need to be in the arc. That was the biggest issue with the arc. If they took him out, it would have been a 10 out of 10 arc and stuff. I've legitimately seen people saying shit like that. And it's like, you guys are just this transphobic that you can't handle the fact that you were wrong, and that your theory that he was going to change and, you know, start using she, her pronouns, your theory about that was wrong and you can't handle that. You are such fucking babies. Like, oh my god. You are so fucking stupid. It is so ridiculously, unquestionably transphobic. Like, there's no other way to look at it. There is literally zero other way to look at it. Because they're pissed that he's still a guy. They're pissed that he's still being referred to as, and referring to himself as, a guy. That's their issue. They wanted him to renounce that. They wanted him to refer to himself as a girl because of the way he looks. Because he has tits, basically. Very pronounced, big tits. And a soft, feminine, quote unquote, feminine features. So they wanted him to be, they wanted him to turn around and renounce his obsession with Odin, or move on from it or whatnot. And because he didn't, they're pissed about it, and now they suddenly hate him out of nowhere. They're transphobic. They just don't like the fact that he refers to himself as a guy, and that everyone else refers to himself as a guy. And they're still going to try to use the excuses that, like, oh no, but the Weaver card, Oda said, and it's like, no, one, no, he didn't. Again, not as involved in the Weaver card as you seem to think. And two, it's not even like he's the first trans character in One Piece. I mean, there's Kiku in this arc, but even besides that, like, you have Morley from the Revolutionary Army. She's a trans woman. She uses she, her pronouns despite being a giant, a giant who is topless and has a full beard. She still uses she, her pronouns. And yeah, she's still a girl. And in general, there's the Okama in general, and she is an Okama as well. She's a newcomer specifically. In general, like, there's a lot of gender fluidity and trans people within the Okama. Like, that's just a thing. That's just a thing in this series. Oda is surprisingly very progressive with that. And there's still some issues in how certain things are handled, such as Sanji's response to them. But they're still strong, capable characters who are shown to be respectable and awesome and badass just as much as anyone else. I mean, Ivankov is one of the heads of the Revolutionary Army. Bon Clay is one of the most beloved characters in the series. And you see characters like Morley, like Kiku, and like Yamato, who are all extremely strong, extremely respectable, and extremely powerful and well-written characters. These people are just so salty because they didn't want to refer to Yamato as a man because he has tits. It's like, oh, we can accept Kiku because she looks feminine. She looks like a girl, so we can accept her as a trans girl. But no, I don't even know what most of them think of Morley, because she doesn't look like a typical girl. So they might be just as transphobic against Morley as they are with Yamato. I don't know. But the point is, it's just pure transphobia. And honestly, it's fucking stupid. I wanted to talk about this because of my connection being trans and everything. And yes, I'm still a trans girl even without being shaved. It's actually a really fitting thing that I didn't end up shaving, just to kind of continue this point. Even though I'm not shaved and have facial hair showing, I'm still a girl. Like, that doesn't change just because of how I look. Just because I don't have noticeable pronounced tits doesn't mean I'm not a girl. Just because I have a dick doesn't mean I'm not a girl. You get my point. Just because Yamato has tits, just because he has more traditionally quote-unquote feminine features, he's still a guy. He refers to himself as a guy and fully sees himself that way. It does not even slightly begin to matter why. That's one of the biggest excuses people use. Oh, but it's only because he's so obsessed with Odin. If Odin was a girl, he would Yamato would identify as a girl. And it's like, it's just because Odin happened to be a guy. And it's like, doesn't matter. Does not even fucking matter. That's a transphobic bullshit argument. It does not matter. His reasoning for being a guy does not matter. It does not even slightly, in any way, have relevance to anything. He does not need to have an important reason or anything in your eyes to be a guy. If he says he's a guy, he's a guy. There's literally nothing else that matters there. If he says he's a guy, he's a guy. And he says he's a guy. And everyone else says he's a guy. Even his fucking father, who's a terrible fucking person, even he genders Yamato properly. Like, you're worse than Kaido if you misgender Yamato. Think about that. In that regard, mind you. In that regard. Even fucking Kaido properly genders his son. It's just, it's ridiculous. So yeah, just that quick spoiler on where Yamato's story kind of ends. Again, it's a very minor spoiler. It doesn't tell you much. It just says that, oh yeah, by the end of Wano, he's still obsessing over Odin, and he's still a he. It's a minor spoiler, but it's still enough of a spoiler, I feel, to have a little warning there. So sorry about this little mini rant at the end here, but I wanted to talk about this because, again, I'd seen people talking about it on social media. And again, I don't know the full context or anything behind it. I just know that that's a thing. People are pissed that Yamato is still a guy, and it just, honestly, their tears are delicious. Their salty, bitter, transphobic tears are delicious because it's like, it just means awesome stuff for the representation in this series. And it's like, hell yeah, Yamato. You be the awesome man we know you are. Plus, there's some people also who ship him with Ace, and it's like, oh, and they just don't want to acknowledge the fact that Ace could be in that kind of regard, that Ace could be queer. And it's like, I ship him with Ace, and it's like, oh no, I very much see it that way. Ace is definitely gay. Ace is gay. Yamato is queer. I see Yamato probably as maybe pan, maybe bi or pan, yeah. But either way, they were definitely together. Let's be honest. There was so much to fuel that. It wasn't as obvious as like some other things, obviously, but I feel there's enough to at least fuel a ship there. There's a reason the ship exists. Anyway. But yeah, that was another excuse people were using, and it's just dumb. People just don't want to acknowledge queer people, especially trans people. And especially trans people who don't pass in their eyes, and that's fucking stupid. And I deal with that shit too, so I understand it on a personal level, so what can you do? Either way, like I said, for all of you who tuned in for these this little mini rant at the end here, tell me what you thought down in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie. I'm signing off. See y'all next time.